Hi everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about clothing. Now, like I said in my previous video, clothing seems pretty individual. I mean, and kind of personal. Russ, you going to tell me about underwear? Well, actually, I am. Um, and you may be thinking, really, Rusty? I've been dressing myself since I was in kindergarten. What can you tell me about clothing? And I have to emphasize again that clothing is a personal choice, but there's a lot to think about when it comes to clothing out on the trail. Some of our concerns. First, there's weight. When I get to what a set of hiking clothes is for me, the weight is a pound and a half. So immediately you can see there's an issue of how many sets of clothes can I bring with me? Can I bring one for every day of the week? That's 8 pounds of clothes. I haven't talked about base weight yet. I have talked about the weight of the big three, but at the end of this series, I'll talk about base weight, and that is basically everything but consumables and how much is reasonable. Um, there's comfort, and I don't just mean, hey, it feels good, it's soft, but there's actually, it takes care of the sweat, wicks away the sweat. Um, it's, uh, it's warm enough or cool enough. Um, you don't get blisters. I mean, obviously, we're talking socks in that case, but that's an important point. Blisters have stopped a lot of hikes from completing. I no longer seem to have that problem, but I did before. Then there's function. We a lot of times we don't think about our clothes are functional, but you grab a raincoat if it's going to be a rainy day. You don't grab that raincoat if it's not going to be a rainy day. There's the cliche old black and white movies where people show up in dinner jackets, and we don't understand the fashion anymore. But it actually it conveys status. It conveyed there was some function associated. We just don't understand it anymore. And then there's the issue of cleaning your clothes. Laundry is obviously the best thing, but to handle cleaning your clothes. But how often are you going to come across a washing machine out on the trail? Well, it's going to be at hostels and hotels and certain camps in national parks. Sometimes the camps had washing machines. So the real question is, what do we bring and how much of it do we bring? All right, so let's just talk about function. Well, there's the clothes we hike in. You may think, well, I'm just going to throw on a pair of pants and a shirt, t-shirt, cotton t-shirt. You get awful cold in a cotton t-shirt if the weather changes quickly. Blue jeans are really, I find them not appropriate for hiking in. They drag on my legs, so that's hiking clothes really are special. Um, there's the question of camping and sleeping. Do we really need different clothes to sleep in, or why can't we just throw ourselves in our sleeping bag and in the clothes that we wore for hiking? What about inclement weather? What about rain? What about cold? And then, of course, town clothes. Do you need special clothes to go into town? If you're going to go into town and you stink like a hiker stink, maybe that might not be something that you really want to do. So I have to decide which functions are important to me and how much discomfort is acceptable. And like there's a old joke about the underwear, hey, there's frontwards, backwards, inside out, and inside out backwards, and it's good for 4 days. That's kind of getting into some uncomfortable truths, but obviously that's a joke, but we have to understand that clothing's tied closely to hygiene. As a practical matter, your clothes are going to stink pretty bad, and you're still going to be wearing them. Um, in this particular series, I'm talking about what I bring, not so much how I use it. It's kind of hard to separate these two when it comes to talking about clothing. So I'll touch on it a little. So I'll mention a little bit of my routine for clothes. One of them I mentioned in an earlier video, for example, that I always hang my clothes out at night, my hiking clothes out, so that they can air out. And that includes the ones if I'm no longer wearing them, like if I had a set that I wore and has been retired for this particular segment of the trip. Your clothing choices will also depend on what is the nature of the hike. A day hike or a short section hike is different than a long section hike or a through hike. The through hikers actually have to deal with different climates. If they start in February or March down in Georgia in the mountains, it's going to be pretty cold, and they have to have warm weather gear with them. As they head north and into the summer, it actually starts to get warmer. And depending on when they get into Maine, if they happen to be northbound through hikers, they may have to be back into warm weather gear by the end. Southbounders, they have a similar problem. The schedule's different, but they have to worry about, what is the weather going to be at the time I'm at each location. So I generally hike in mild weather. At least I don't get into freezing situations, at least not on purpose. But sometimes the daytime temperatures can get up pretty high, up into like the 90s. And fortunately, that's mitigated a little bit because if you're out on the Appalachian Trail anyway, 99% of the time you're under tree cover and you're actually at some altitude where it might be a little cooler up there. Maybe not in the mid-Atlantic states of New York and New Jersey where it never gets real high, but it'll be a little bit cooler up in the mountains. So the nighttime temperatures, I've actually had them hit the high 30s. Like I said, not on purpose, but I was in Maine and we got a cold snap, even though it was early September, and it got pretty cold overnight. So here's the clothes I bring. First, I bring 2 sets of hiking clothes. This set of hiking clothes actually weighs 1.5 pounds. Okay? There's the set I'm wearing, which I don't pay attention. I don't really care about the weight of that. I mean, we wear clothes all day. It's something we're accustomed to. And then there's the set I'm either going to wear or I've already worn and already into my second set, but I still have to carry them. And again, that's 1.5 pounds. If I were to bring 3 sets, I'm adding 1.5 pounds to my base weight. Now, I haven't talked about base weight. At the end of this series, I'll visit base weight. I did talk about the cost, the weight of the big 3. But overall, base weight is basically what you have to carry the whole way. So it's not including consumables, stuff that you're eating or drinking or burning, along the way, or wiping your butt with. So I've got the set I'm wearing, the set I'm my second set, and this is what a set consists of. First, there's a wicking shirt. This is my wicking shirt. I have several of them. People sometimes think I'm wearing the same shirt, and sometimes I am, but Darlene went out and got a whole bunch of these for me, and she's somehow, even though she's not a hiker, she's really good at identifying things that are going to be useful for me out on the trail. One, it's a wicking shirt, so the sweat evaporates a little bit better than, say, a cotton t-shirt. Secondly, you can see it's bright orange. People identify me quickly, and if I ever do find myself hiking during a hunting season, I've got a blaze orange shirt on. I have convertible pants. That means a pair of hiking pants in which I can unzip the legs from like the middle of the thigh down. I generally hike in shorts. I do, subject the world to my baby giraffe legs because it's just more comfortable. I really feel like the pant legs are dragging at me. Once you've hiked in shorts, you actually find yourself going a lot slower if you wear long pants. Then you might think, well, why are you bothering even bringing the pant legs? Well, there are occasions where I do need to have the long pants. Like when I got the 2nd-degree burns on my legs, I had to cover them up just for safety reasons. But the legs themselves are very light, and they actually serve another function. You have clean cloths with you, because if you haven't been wearing them and you just throw them in the pack, unzip them from the pants and throw them in the pack, you have clean cloths. And there are occasions where you might have an opportunity for a shower, but towels aren't available, and you can literally use the pant legs. I've done that several times, and it works out pretty good. I mean, you get used to stuff like that on the trail. I have wicking underwear. That also helps prevent swamp butt or SWAS. Socks, obviously, and a sweatband. That is a set of clothes. That's my 1.5 pounds. I also carry 1 extra pair of socks and 1 extra set of underwear. That just gives me more opportunities in case something bad happened, like I stepped in some mud and my socks got particularly nasty, wet, or whatever. I do have a spare pair of socks. And then, of course, I bring a hat, wide brim hat. This one, it has a little flap that I can roll down in the back, protect my neck if I am above tree line, or if I'm someplace like hiking in the Grand Canyon. This is just an essential survival gear, is your hat. And then, of course, there's your belt. I have one of these stretchy elastic ones that are infinitely adjustable. My long section hike from Pennsylvania and New Jersey border down to Roanoke, Virginia, I lost 18 pounds. That's fairly common. That's 3 pounds a week over 6 weeks. And having an adjustable belt is really helpful. But there's an uncomfortable truth. Okay, I have 2 sets of clothes. That means I have to divide the number of days to the next time I think I'm going to be able to clean them, divide it by 2, and that's how long I have to wear each set. And that comes as a surprise to people who don't hike. You're not carrying a lot of clothes, and you are putting stinky clothes on day after day. There's nothing you can do about it until, of course, hey, it's changing day, which is always nice. Okay, camp clothes. I do bring camp clothes, and the reason I bring camp clothes is I want to get out of my wet, sweaty clothes once I hit camp. 2, I don't want to be sleeping in sweaty clothes in my sleeping bag. Keeping my sleeping bag clean and dry is actually very important to its function, as I mentioned in the, or kind of alluded to in the video about sleeping gear. I bring boxer shorts. I bring sleeping socks. Now, those socks I don't put on right away when I get to camp because I want to air out my feet. I have flip-flops that I will put on. I'll get out of my boots and get out of my socks, and I'll be hanging things up. But I'll get out of that, and then the socks go on when I get into my sleeping bag. I do bring a puffy jacket, and I have one right here. This is a lightweight, down-filled kind of vest type of thing. There's no down in this particular model. There's no down in the sleeves. There's no down in the hood part. But and I don't want this to get subjected to sweaty clothes. So typically, when I get into camp, I'll clean up a bit, and then I'll switch over into my camp clothes, and then I'll put on the if I have to, I'll put on the fluffy, the puffy jacket over my camp clothes. And then, of course, I also bring, I don't have one with me, I call them cootie masks. We're talking about, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, and I bring those just because a lot of times you go to a hostel, and they, like a lot of businesses, especially in the Northeast, they ask that you wear a mask while you're on the premises, and they actually serve other purposes. If it's a real cold night, the mask, I have cloth masks, and they actually can keep my face a little warm. And one unexpected use of it was when I started my hike. I was at there's a hostel at the Church of the Mountain Hiker in Water Gap, Pennsylvania. I think that's the name of it. And they had a nice little shelter out back. So the night before I started my hike, I slept in that shelter, and they had a spotlight just shining right into the shelter. This is from a building nearby. And I just put the mask actually over my eyes, and the light didn't bother me. Of course, I have rain gear. I happen to have Outdoor Research helium rain jacket and rain pants. Here are the pants. And here is the rain jacket. Now, I had said that I wasn't really going to review equipment on this. I'm actually, have to admit, this is a highly touted Outdoor Research product. I'm not particularly satisfied with it. It seems to wet out pretty quickly, and wetting out means you throw it on, you expect you're going to get some protection from the rain. The next thing you know, you can see the hair on your arm through the arm of the rain jacket, because it's soaked through. That was kind of unexpected. This was recommended to me by somebody, and I did spend a bit of money on it. So I'm looking at other options for rain gear, but generically, you really do need to consider how you're going to deal with rain out on the trail, because it's going to rain. So you have to deal with that. Other things, town clothes. I mentioned that. For me, I actually don't bring town clothes. And the reason is, 75% of the time that I have to go into a town, I'm actually staying at a hostel in the area, and I can clean my clothes and I can put on clean clothes. And for those times where I'm just going into a town to resupply, well, dual purpose. I take my raincoat, I might throw that over stuff, kind of, act as a barrier to the smell. I clean up as best as I can before I walk into the Walmart or wherever I'm going to be. And social distancing is actually helping us, because now people are staying away from you, and now they're extra motivated to stay away from you. And I just deal with it. But like I said, putting on the rain clothes before I walk into a store actually does help quite a bit. So I don't bring town clothes. There are other choices. For rain gear, some people prefer ponchos. A poncho is just more, not really, a jacket shaped thing. It just kind of lays over you, and that's actually good, because some people feel they can protect their pack also with the poncho while they put it on. Just a personal choice. Sock liners. People who have problems with blisters sometimes tell me sock liners help them. I don't happen to use sock liners, and haven't had problems with blisters in a while, but something to think about. Spats, those are the things that kind of go around your ankles, and if you're wearing shorts especially, a lot of junk, little sticks and rocks get into your boots and start rubbing on your feet, so you might consider them. I don't generally use them. I have in the past. I just don't find I have that big of a problem with it, but it's also something to consider. And then finally, there's a thing that I see out on the trail. I'd say like maybe 1% of all male hikers are wearing kilts. And I saw like hundreds of hikers on my section hike, and I probably saw 3 or 4 guys in kilts. So that's where I kind of informally survey. I come up with the 1% figure, and I asked them, and they tell me that it's like incredibly comfortable. And I think this is one of these things where it's like right now there's tents and there's hammockers, and hammocks are gaining in popularity. I don't think they're ever going to overcome tents, but maybe out there it's not unusual to see a hammocker. You wouldn't think anything of it. Like, I don't know, maybe 10-20% of the people are hammockers. Well, I think that kilts are going to become more and more common. And yeah, I finally asked one of them, and they go commando under that kilt. And that's probably a good final thought for this video.